Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tennessee Twos Disc Golf Podcast. My name is Daniel Bacon. Across from me is Ethan Jenkins, and we will be your hosts on this journey through disc golf this week.
Hello.
Uh, if you guys are here after clicking on the link from Twitter, thank you so much for joining us. If you guys found us through Facebook earlier, thank you again for joining us. And yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say this week. I will say, though, that we do have a Twitter giveaway that is going to be kicking off tomorrow. For all of you listening in the audio feeds, we are live on Tuesday night here, about 7:30 Eastern time is when we kicked this off. You guys are more than welcome to join us at any time or continue listening after the fact. We appreciate either one. Um, but if you guys are listening to this on Thursday, go check out Twitter. The giveaway should already be posted there and how to enter. All right.
Yes. And just in case anyone is new and has not heard and wants to get on that very soon, we will be giving away a Music City Open Whale Sack and Music City Open Dynamic Discs Enforcer from the Music City Open 2022.
Heck
Um,
yeah, dude.
they are some sick items right there. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, again, appreciate everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Um, we can just go ahead and jump right on in. And oops, had some volume going on. Sorry, audio peoples. Um,
Oops.
but yeah,
It happens.
the Dynamic Discs Open. We played a new course. Um, I'm a little upset that we got to see the Supreme course ahead of Worlds. Um, I feel like I would have rather seen it just at Worlds and them play, you know, the older layout. But
Right.
I do understand why McCabe wanted to get some play on that. That way, if there was any changes that he needed to do, he could do so. Um, because if it plays the exact same for Worlds, there is pretty much a sure cut and dry winner, especially in MPO. So starting off with that, we had Mr. Bucket Hat himself, Ricky Wysocki, taking it down at 10 down on the weekend. Um, he took first place, 6 strokes over Simon Lazat, who came in second at 4 down. And then we had a slew of people at 2 down, tied for third. We had Vino Makala, Aaron Gossage, Logan Harpool, Jake Hebenheimer, and the dark horse himself, Brody Smith. Um,
Brody.
yep, we got to see some really great disc golf. We got to see a lot of bad, um,
Really bad disc
a
golf.
lot of bad disc golf. Um, which sometimes that's okay. It was super challenging. Um, when the wind was in play, OB was treacherous, and it the wind just had its way with those discs. A lot of what I seen, I did not get to see the entire coverage. Um, I tuned in as much as I could, but yeah, it looked a little rough out there. What did you notice on the MPO side?
Well, one of the things that I noticed was that the courses are hard, and they were hard in fair conditions because Thursday played moderately fair for Kansas wins, and Sunday played very fair for Kansas wins. Friday and Saturday, about what you'd expect, maybe even a little bit worse. I know on Friday, I believe they actually were playing through the middle of a tornado warning,
Yeah,
or watch, excuse me, just a
yeah.
tornado watch. And for anybody who might have been paying attention to their social media this last week, you would have seen that Andover, Kansas, actually had a pretty big one touchdown. I can't remember how long that one stayed on the ground, but I mean, Andover's just over an hour away from Emporia, so they were not far away, having tornadoes literally touching the ground while they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Um,
literally almost Wizard of Oz all over again.
yeah, that's about what it was, right?
Right.
um, we kind of got into some debates on Twitter this week. It was a lot of fun. I found it very refreshing to see people really having to fight for everything they were doing. Nothing but the best shots were rewarded. Anything less than that were either just pars or you were severely punished if you were out of position. I know that there's an ongoing debate on a daily basis about whether artificial OB is something we really want to see out on the courses, but we need tougher courses on tour, and I think that that was something we had a chance to see, and a lot of people really didn't like it. And I'm not sure that it was just whether they didn't like the way that Kansas looks, which, sorry, that's Kansas. I don't know how to really explain that. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But there was also how it played in terms of OB and then the wins, and a lot of people really felt like it wasn't fun to watch.
Right.
There were a lot of us, who were different, who really appreciated watching that. I mean, you're talking about your winner after 4 days finishing with a 10 down. He had to fight every little bit to get into double digits for an entire weekend. And I thought that was utterly refreshing,
Yeah.
personally. You know what I mean? I
Right.
think we are so spoiled watching these people go out and shoot 10 down rounds all the time that it was just really nice to see you really had to claw for this victory.
The score separation, um, it it was obviously there. You know, it was on how many people could take advantage of it, and that two down spot is kind of crazy. Um, because you've got five people tied at two down. The thing that doesn't make sense when you're looking at the whole tournament is you have 4 rounds, right? When would when is the last time, or maybe ever, that we've seen third place come in at two down on a 4 round tournament? Like, that's unheard of, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I can think of is Northwood Black playing in the woods where over par is still considered a 1000 rated round.
Right,
Now, the difference is that when they go to Northwood Black throughout the tour, they play 2 days at another course that plays much more effective in terms of scoring.
right.
So we still didn't even see this. Out here, we saw two back-to-back courses where you have to hit every landing zone if you want to score, and you have to hit it well. You cannot stray 10 feet to the right, 10 feet to the left. You've got to hit your landing zones.
Yeah,
And
it's
if you
it's
don't,
almost like you're
you're
playing in the
getting
woods
punished.
in the wide open.
Yeah,
It was like that. You had to play landing zones. It forced your hand a lot of times to execute shots and to really be precision accuracy. Um, because yeah, you could make it in bounds, great for you, but that doesn't mean that you have a shot for the next one. You know,
no, exactly.
so it was not only having to stay safe, but to stay to where you can play the next lie. It was difficult from what I seen. One thing that I will point out that was kind of discouraging for me is on Thursday, round one. We were getting ready to leave, and I had a bunch of buddies here, and we were getting ready to go out on a bachelor trip. And I turned on the disc golf tournament, and everybody, none of them really are into disc golf. They don't watch disc golf. They thought that the camera work and everything was horrible. They was like, "This is not good. This is gonna make me sick to my stomach." And I was like, I didn't even look at it from that perspective because I'm used to it, I guess.
Right.
And I kind of started sitting back from their eyes, and I was like, is it really like that? Is it really that bad? And I really think the camera guys were having a hard time standing. Like, to follow the discs in that wind and everything. But people that don't know the sport would never realize that. Um, they're just like, there's no tracker for it. There's nothing. Like,
Right.
the graphics are very shaky. It's this is not good. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
part of the reason. It's part of the reason why a lot of newcomers tend to veer and gravitate a little bit towards post produced. A lot of times the camera work is a little bit more effective,
Yes.
a little bit less shaky. but you also have to consider the amount of extra editing that goes into that process.
Right.
And a lot of people who watch a lot of post produced have to graduate into live. But we're in this weird spot in disc golf where so many people are coming in at such a vast rate that they're going straight to live, and they're not used to it a little bit.
Yeah. And I wouldn't, if I was just sitting there watching it, I would just be happy that there was disc golf on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
would be content. But somebody that's not as into the sport and they're just looking for something to watch and they're like, this is what is this? It's
Yeah.
like I was like, yeah, you're right, but it's it's kind of where
That's
we're at with the sport right now. He's like, and there were several of them that were like, if it's gonna grow or ever make it on to national TV, it won't look like that. Like it can't.
No. But
And
then again, when we think about it, the spots that have made it onto national TV, like what's made it onto CBS in the past, what's made it onto ESPN in the past, doesn't look anything like that from what we've already had.
right,
Again, the magic of post production is a little bit different than live. And yes, live has a long ways to go, but it's still making steady improvements every year. So
right.
it's not like we're sitting stagnant, and this is, something that we've been talking about for 3 or 4 years, saying if this doesn't get better, we're not going to go anywhere. There is
Yes,
improvement, and unfortunately, they're just a little too new to see that improvement at this
exactly.
point.
And that, but there's a lot of people. The reason I bring that up is there is so, like you said, there's so many people coming in to the sport right now that want to watch, and then they hear about this live disc golf from the podcasts and everything like that, and I could see how it would be a turnoff. Um, I and the one thing that I will say is in the woods, it is much easier to follow the disc. Um, than what people would think. From what
Right.
I was noticing, and it was hard to explain to them, is when they were throwing up and over the hills and everything like that, you could never see the disc, never see
Right.
it, and it was like, where did that go? I was like, it's coming around to the left. It'll show up in a second, and then whoever was switching the cameras, it would already be on the ground by the time they swapped to the camera, and I'm like,
Yeah. I will say there was some camera switching issues that they had this last week that were a little worse than probably what we've seen
right,
so far this year. It kind of reminded me a little bit. I know I talked about it during All Stars actually, where the camera work was just really shoddy. When they were coming around, they were, disc was already on the ground and they were just zooming in on grass. Well, that
right.
doesn't help anybody.
No, it
That
doesn't.
if
It
you can't see
doesn't.
that disc on top of the grass, it's not we're not seeing anything. Now for you and me or most of our, primary um, demographic, we're going to look at that and say, okay, well, he's zooming in because we know the disc is right there and he's trying to tell us where it landed. We
Right.
know that.
And we can imagine how it got there,
Right.
whereas someone new cannot. They're like, all right, well, there's where he started, and that's where he finished. Is that good? You know? And the most intriguing part of disc golf is the disc's flight. So, with that being said, I feel like there needs to be like an emphasize on following the disc, um, and having, I don't know what they can do to make discs more visible to cameras other than upgrading cameras.
Yeah. And, another thing when we talk about something like this, I mean, DDO is probably not the event that I'm going to introduce a newcomer to disc golf with either,
Right.
because we're talking about Kansas. There's not a lot of hills, they're not very big hills, and everything is big sky. And
Yes.
even with the good cameras, discs are hard to follow once they get above the tree line. Once they hit that point where they're in the sky, even the best cameras struggle to keep good visual on them because you need something to reflect off of it to make it visible. But
Right.
it's above the camera and the sun's above that, which means the reflection's going up further into the sky. You know what I mean?
Well, and I actually said that. That is one thing that I said. I was like, even good cameras, like they would struggle to find a disc in the sky. They're like, what about a golf ball? A golf ball is traveling way faster, way smaller, and you can see that thing throughout the entire flight. And
With really, and you can't. I will tell you right now that that's completely incorrect. I watched most of the Masters tournament when it came around this last year. It's one of the three tournaments I watch a year. and you can't see the ball. If they don't put that tracer on there, it is not visible past 20 yards. It's just not. Once it hits the ground, you know exactly what's happening, yes. But when
Right.
it's up in the air, it is not visible.
Right.
You know what I
So
mean? But the fact that they have those tracers there to help you with that
right.
is just so important.
It
And we've
is.
talked about this before, where we've
Mhm.
talked about having those types of live tracers. I've really liked what they've been doing a little bit lately, where they've kind of been advertising with Ace Trace
Yes.
and bringing in some of those trackers. I don't think it's the best app for them necessarily to be using, but it's looking like a partnership more than anything.
Yes, I
So we're not
agree.
going to get away from that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
And
I wish we would
hopefully
see it a little bit more.
I do too. Hopefully everything just kind of continues to grow forward and get better. And
Right.
then that's another talking point. I can bring them back at a later date when it's better and be like, "See how much this improved?" You know what I mean? Like now it's
Right.
actually enjoyable for you. And that's the goal. That's where we need to be.
Yeah.
But um
Outside of that, I mean,
yeah,
let's
outside
talk
of
a little
that,
bit about FBO.
I wanted to touch base a little bit more on MPO before we um,
Oh, well,
dallied
we have to go
over.
back. We have to go back to it all anyways, because you and I have to cover how well we did predicting. So let's go
True.
over FBO real quick, because
Okay.
we had quite a week in terms of predictions. I'm not
Yes.
gonna lie.
Um, so in FPO, you had coming in first, taking it down by one stroke, shooting even throughout the entire tournament. Kristen Tatar. She played very consistent. There's not much else you can say. Very good, very consistent.
Yeah, day
They,
one was awful.
yep.
She definitely had some champions hangover that day.
She fought back. She fought back
Little
well.
winners hangover, but she from days 3 through the end, she played more consistent than any player in the field, and it wasn't even close.
And it showed. Um, and then you had Katrina. It was really. It seems to be this way lately, especially like the last couple tournaments where it's kind of like a two-woman race.
Yeah,
Um, this time it just happened to be Kristen and Katrina. Katrina had a chance to take the tie at least. There at the end on hole 18. She ended up only losing by one stroke, and that one putt from Circle's Edge could have changed the whole narrative.
right.
But she ended up shooting one over, coming in second, and then Ella Hansen and Emily Beach tied for third at 8 over. So you had between second and third a 7 stroke swing. Um, you kind of had two battles going on
Yeah,
there, which I'm okay with that because that still gave a story. It wasn't so much match play. I would rather it be like that than them just focusing on the two.
right.
Um, but yeah, course was hard. It was
Yeah,
hard.
it was a tough course. For all you guys who are in chat, just to let you know, you do have a comment box. Feel free to pitch in and say anything you guys want to say. We love to hear your guys' thoughts, so don't be afraid to jump in at any time.
Absolutely.
Um, as for the win, one of the things that was really striking to me, like it really stood out, was the layup on 18 by Kristen. Because we
Right.
talked about this at Champions Cup, where we both kind of said, I probably wouldn't have laid up in that situation where she ended up, four putting there.
Yep.
But I really loved to see that she betted on herself this time around. She said, you know what? I've clearly played most of this tournament better than anybody else. Katrina still has to hit this putt to win or to tie me and send it to a playoff. I'm going to bet on myself here.
Right.
She laid it up. Katrina missed her putt. She took down the victory without even a playoff. But I just love to watch her bet on herself there. It was
Yes.
kind of beautiful, especially after what happened at Champions Cup.
It was. And now she's went back to back.
Back
Um
to back.
she she's she's the number one woman the FPO in the world right now, right? She's got to be. If not,
Yes.
she's got to be close.
Somebody tweeted out, like, she's the GOAT right now, right? And I'm like, well, you can't really say she's GOAT because, well, all time.
Yeah.
You can't give her an all time moniker here.
Well, can she
But
be the
I would
Gorn?
definitely I gave her the goatee.
Oh, well, I
The
was going to say Gorn,
greatest
greatest of right now.
Yeah, I was going greatest of the year, and then I put in parentheses when I replied so far because that's
Goaties.
you know goaties. But yeah, if we were to end the season right now, I would give her the goatee status. I would give her player of the year because she hasn't really missed podium,
She
and
has not ever. This year,
so
this season, has not missed podium a
she's
single time.
she's got 2 wins, right?
Yes, that's the
I
big
mean,
key
that's
right there. Is it's not a Calvin Heimberg incident of last year where it was podium, 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 podium,
and
and
no
never
wins.
win. Whereas Kristen has been podium, 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 win, podium, 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 win, win. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
granted, one of those wasn't a Pro Tour event. I understand. But,
yeah. I'm not even including that in
yeah,
terms of the greatest of the year conversation right now. I mean,
right.
it's that isn't even in my mind. Just what she's
However,
done
it was
between Elite
still
Series and
a very
majors.
difficult field there for
Yeah,
FPO.
but even if you take that out and just say what she's done in the
Yeah,
Elite Series and the majors this year,
every single tournament she has
goatee,
played, she has been on podium. So,
goatees.
goatees. Yeah.
Goatees. All right, so one of the things I wanted to point out was our predictions last week
Yeah, let's hear them.
because we had some great predictions. So you had Kristen Tatar winning, and you had picked Katrina for the top three as well. Both of those ended up happening. I picked Kristen and Ella Hansen to both podium. I did not pick her to win. Not that I
Still,
didn't think she would
top
win. It was
three.
just I knew she would be up there, right?
Right.
Ella Hansen ended up hitting that top three, which was kind of a dark horse when you really think about it. She wasn't my dark horse pick, but she ended up there. And then both of us picked Ricky Wysocki to win. And then I even managed to double down and I picked the dark horse himself as my dark horse to hit the podium, and he tied for a podium spot.
Yes, sir.
Not to mention, well, we couldn't really preview the courses because, again, some new layouts, stuff that they're working on out
Right.
there. But we did predict wind. Not that
Yep.
that was a hard prediction, but we predicted it and we got it. And man, was it brutal.
Yeah. Worst we've seen all year. Um,
Absolutely. Now, the performance I do want to call out more than anything that we have talked about so far was Jake Hebenheimer.
I was about to get there. Mr. Cornhole Putt himself.
Cornhole putt. One of the things that I really loved about his performance out there, and this is one of the things that's really great about a course like that, and then the wind like that on top of it, is the amount of players that we had who are not top rated in the top region of the finishing pool was kind of outrageous when you really think about it. But at the same time, it shows like the different mindsets and how humbling a course of that difficulty can be.
Yes.
Because you've got all these players who are going for the biggest shots and they're losing and they're losing and they're losing and they're losing. And then you've got somebody like Logan Harpool, who's just kind of a local hero, who came out and he just played his game and he ended up in the top three. And you have Jake Ebenheimer with his cornhole putt. And he went out there and he got interviewed and he even said, "Look, man, I laid some stuff up. I did it because it's not worth the risk out there, or I'm just went out there and made my throws, got myself into the best positions I could be, and then I continued to play from there. I took every shot as it was and then moved on to the next shot. I didn't hold anything back. I did what I could do."
And good job on the Pro Tour. This is huge for Jake. All right, huge for Jake. But good job on the Pro Tour, kind of writing a story for him. Um, they kind of dug in depth with him, and I think they know because he's such a. Everybody knows him because of his style, right? It's
Right.
different, so they kind of cling to that fact of this guy catches eyes. Let's do something about it, right?
Yep.
And that's good on the Pro Tour, not Bro Tour. um,
Not the
it's
Bro
good
Tour
on.
yet, not until
Yeah,
Brody
not
wins.
yet, not yet, but it's on its way. Um, but yeah, it was good on the Pro Tour. God bless. And I just thought it was really cool getting to hear a little bit more about him. I kind of like the discovering new talent, watching them climb the ranks, and then getting their backstory. That's something that you see in all sports. So if they're gonna start kind of integrating that, That's a big A+ in my book for the Pro Tour.
Yeah. I mean, I loved the entire experience. I loved seeing him out there. I love that we got to watch him putt for a whole round. I loved that we had, you know, Nate Doss going out there and saying stuff like, "Man, I don't understand why this works." So, like it's everything we teach you not to do when you're putting, you know?
Yep.
But I looked at it from a completely different point of view when Nate Doss was like, he has so many moving parts when he's putting. It's something that, you know, it's very difficult to do. But what I looked at it was is he has created a putting style that is infinitely repeatable.
Yep.
Because when you talk about baseball pitchers, for example, and how they're able, like the best pitchers in baseball, how they're able to get hitters out is having a repeatable motion and then making all of their pitches off of that repeatable motion. They have a fastball that comes out of the hand, they have a curveball that comes out of the hand, and they're coming out of the hand at the same spot. Everything is repeatable, but the pitch comes out and does something different, right?
Right.
It's so important to have that repeatable aspect. And what he has done for him is he's created a repeatable motion.
Yep.
And when you can create something that's repeatable, you're going to gain success from that, regardless of whether it's what they teach or what they don't teach. If it's repeatable, you can learn it. And that's the most important thing for him. And he's kind of proven that for us.
Yeah. You're gonna see it. I guarantee you. You're gonna start seeing more of these putters like me that are struggling from Circle One X. Start
Hitting the cornhole.
start trying this. This is something that I actually used to putt like 2 years ago. Like this was my putt, and I loved it. But from Circle Two and out, I just could. It was all over the place. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Circle One, I was deadly with it. So don't be surprised if you don't see me bringing it back out. Thanks, Jake.
Now, the question is are we going to continue to call it the cornhole putt? Or at this point in time, should we just start calling it the Hebenheimer?
I am totally down with calling it the Hebenheimer.
Uh, we
Scott,
call them Simon lines. Why not call it the Hebenheimer?
it's a great name. It makes sense. I mean, it goes along with Heiser, Anheuser, Hebenheimer. Like it works.
It just fits.
It fits. I'm
Yeah.
totally
So
down.
from this day forward, we are no longer calling it the cornhole putt. It is now the Hebenheimer.
The Hebenheimer. Um, I love it. But yeah. So, I drew a blank. I was going somewhere with that, and I don't remember where I was going. But hey, it is what it is. Welcome to live podcasts.
It happens, folks.
Yep.
It happens.
But yeah, so go ahead, steal it.
Well, you want to do some Daniel's drama?
Yeah, get right into it.
Daniel's drama.
We need to get some. I've got all this soundboard stuff, and I do nothing with it. We should do
stuff.
that.
All right. So I tweeted controversial things. Surprise, surprise.
Bro, this whole
And I'm not
weekend,
sorry.
my Twitter notifications were going nuts. I was in no state of mind to be on Twitter. I was like, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? And I was just like, it was like reply, like, reply, like. And I'm like, God bless, he is doing work right now. So kudos to you on making everybody either really happy or really angry. I did not look.
I made a lot of people happy with this one, but I made a lot of people really angry with this one too. And the funny thing is, the angry stuff that I made was off of a subtweet off this tweet and not the main tweet.
Okay.
Which is kind of the funniest thing because the subtweet was actually more of a joke than anything, and people took it so seriously. I apologize if you took it this seriously, but I'm going to go through it real quick. So I tweeted, the amount of comments I've seen about how this hasn't been fun to watch is proof that the courses on the Pro Tour are not hard enough. We are so spoiled to watch consistent 10 downs or more or better rounds, and it's very refreshing that I think it's very refreshing that we're heading into round 3 without a single player in double digits right now. Right? I had a lot of people really like that. That I don't know how my tweets lately have just been getting spread around the world, but they've been spread around the world. I had 50 likes on that, dude. We only have 117 followers,
Right.
so 50 likes on when you only have 117 followers.
By the
is a
way, though,
lot.
We was at 98 last Tuesday, so I mean,
Put
it's
putting in work
growing.
over here.
Yeah, it's growing.
So we'll go through a couple of the things that some people said. Somebody commented back, well, Northwood is really hard and it's fun to watch, but this isn't. I didn't reply to that because I had already stopped replying to people at this point, but it is a good point, you know? However, the thing about Northwood that's fun to watch because it's so hard is how relatable it is.
Yes.
Okay. When we watch the best pros in the world absolutely demolish a tree with their disc and just have that disc fall straight to the ground and just lay there limp, that is so relatable for us, right?
Yes, 100%.
We do that all the time, and it just feels good sometimes to watch the best players in the world do that.
Like,
So
oh,
I
they
get
are
what you're
human.
saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I kind of don't agree. There's a relatable aspect to that that kind of differs from what I was trying to say, right? And I had somebody say, I think it's related to how much artificial OB there is. And I had more than one person say that. But, we've kind of already talked about that. Artificial OB is not the funnest thing to watch, but we can't have 100% of our courses in the woods. And if we have to play in places that are open like Kansas, we have to have artificial OB. Because if we don't have artificial OB, these players are going to take whatever route they want, and when you can throw 700 feet on a deep anhyzer and just land it wherever you want, and then end up with a 40-foot upshot, that's not fun to watch either because then you're just going to have people throwing perfect rounds simply because they can,
Right.
right? And it's fun to watch sometimes, but if everybody's doing it all the time, it's not fun to watch.
Right.
So that's my argument there. Yes, I don't like artificial OB, but at the same time, it's a necessity at this level of the game, right? Uh, Somebody I had say, well, you can have a hard course that's still fun to watch. So far, this course has not been fun to watch at all for me. Although it's totally possible that it's more to the wind than it is to the course. That is a huge aspect I wanted to point out because wind affects everything. And when we're talking about Kansas and the level of artificial OB that is on that course together, I can understand why that might not be a fun viewing experience.
Yeah.
But on the same side, we saw a lot of people rip some pretty good rounds on Sunday out at the country club, and we saw some pretty decent rounds on Thursday as well, where these people are throwing some pretty decent rounds, making good throws. Yes, it was tough, and that was a little bit more fun to watch, and the wind kind of stripped us of that a little bit. And I disagree to a point just because watching players, play well in those types of adverse conditions, it's no different than going out and watching the Masters in, rain or something like that,
Right.
right? I think that's so much fun to watch because it's a condition that you're not accustomed to. You don't intentionally go and practice in heavy rain, but it's something that changes everything about how the course plays. When grass gets wet, and you start having to hit a wet golf ball with a wet club, with a wet handle, with wet hands off of extremely soft grass because of how wet it is, and then get it up onto a green that is playing absolutely completely different than it played yesterday because it was dry, you see some really, really bad scores.
Right.
And that's what we saw here. The wind is a part of the course. You know it's going to be there because we're playing in Kansas. We predicted it last week like it wasn't, a big deal because it's not. It's going to be there, and we know it's going to be there. Is the level of artificial OB, you know, equal in terms of how it should play to the wind? Maybe not. Maybe I could say that expecting the kind of winds that we see out there, so on and so forth.
Right.
All right. But now to get into the more controversial side
Hmm.
of the stuff that I said is I have to find it. Where did it go? See that one.
Where are they?
Okay. So I had somebody comment back. They said the complaints aren't really about the course difficulty, it's about the land itself. It's just not visually appealing. And before I go into anything else about that and how the Twitter conversations went from there, tell me how you felt about how Jones Supreme was visually, because when I tweeted that, it was after Jones Supreme 2
Yeah.
days.
It was ugly.
But it's Kansas, and it's not different from Jones in previous years. Yeah, the holes were different, but it looked exactly the same in terms of visual aspect as what we've seen in Jones every single year for so long now.
and I've never liked it.
But it's
I
also Kansas,
It's
right?
Kansas. I get it. Like I
It's
expect it.
Kansas.
I expect it. I don't have to like it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that the rough grass that they call, is all dead,
The
and
tall
the
grass, yeah.
broom sage, it's ugly. It's not aesthetically pleasing at all. Um,
Right.
if a disc goes in it, they don't have to play in there, so why have it? It would be different if it was a hazard. Okay. Uh, it hides discs in the flights of the cameras. Um, the drone shots were hideous. Um,
Yeah,
I,
that is true.
the drone shots looked like you were flying over some rough land, but I understand that it is Kansas, okay, but you can do things to make things more aesthetically pleasing, especially if it's going to be on the Pro Tour. I this is We have to start holding courses more at a higher level. All right. I understand this is new. This layout is new. I get it. But how hard is it to get out there with somebody? Talk to your sponsor, talk to somebody that's hosting the event and say, hey, this is what we need. This is part of and this is a little segue, but this is where I'm going with this is like MVP bought Maple Hill, right? They own that title. The MVP Open at Maple Hill. MVP Open or MVP gave them money to make things more aesthetically pleasing and more not probable, but we'll go with probable for success. We'll go with that. But like the bleachers and everything like that to make the experience better. So if this is
Right.
going to be the Dynamic Discs Open, Dynamic has to take control of this and say, "Hey, this was ugly. We got a lot of feedback that this was ugly. We know that it wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing. There's not a whole lot we can do with it, but let's brainstorm. You know what I mean? Let's
Sure.
find ways and
But
do something."
more more to the point of the conversation itself though, did you feel like this wasn't fun to watch because the course was ugly?
I definitely didn't enjoy it as much. What I seen.
Right. But it could have been a factor, but it's not like this wasn't fun to watch. The course was just ugly, and that was it. That was your only comment, right?
I mean, no. I mean, I'm still gonna watch it just like everybody else did. Um, they're gonna watch it because it's disc golf and it's live, and
Right.
that's great. We have that um ability to watch disc golf live,
Right. But
and we're
out even
taking advantage of
even
that.
even outside of that, if somebody said, "Hey, don't watch this tournament. It wasn't fun to watch because the course didn't look very good." Would you not watch that tournament? Or would you end up watching it
Depends on
and
how
then
involved I was.
having the greatest stories that we've had like Jake Hebenheimer, and you missed out on all of these stories because you didn't watch simply because the course was ugly.
What does it do for me?
It's disc golf.
I mean,
You
no,
get to watch
like,
the
but
best
you're
players in the
saying
world.
right. I get that, but as far as like, what does that story do for me? If I never have ever heard of this
But I'm not
story,
talking about that. I'm talking about people making these comments who have watched disc golf for years, because a lot of these people are people with PDGA numbers like in the 5-digit range,
right,
right?
right.
That's what I'm talking about. And somebody who says, "Don't watch it, the course is ugly." And that's all they said. Are you going to
Okay,
really take a whole lot of
you're
credence?
saying somebody said, okay, yeah, 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 okay. Well, I mean, I get it, but that's feedback. You know what I mean?
Right? Right.
So whether or
Now,
not they take it seriously, that's up to the consumer.
right. Now, I have to say, when I posted this original comment about all the comments I've seen about how this hasn't been fun to watch, it's been in more reference to like the OB
And the wind.
and the wind and the
Yeah.
difficulty of the course in relation to both of those together. So when this guy came up, it was the first time I was even hearing somebody say it was ugly, which is fine. If you think a course is ugly, you think a course is ugly. So I kind of came back and I said, well, not the ones that I'm referring to. It's been course plus or course difficulty plus wind. And as a joke, I said, I don't even bother to give credence to people who judge courses based on visual appeal. Now, I want you to know I come from Northern Nevada originally. I've played courses where literally the only thing to look at is sagebrush and the basket. And you have your hills to traverse. You might have a couple of like pines out there, maybe a cedar or two,
Right.
that's about it. I come from the land of desolate, ugly courses. And trust me, if you think
And
this
that's
course
what
is ugly, you haven't seen ugly. Is it the best course visually? Absolutely not. Right. But I also, I said that as a joke, but people went off on me and it was really a fun time. I had a good time talking to people.
I mean,
um,
I'm probably more on their side
yeah.
of this.
And so, so somebody said back, they're like, why shouldn't aesthetics be a factor in judging a tournament? Otherwise, a sufficiently large parking lot would suffice. And again, when I made this comment,
Okay, that was
I made
fun.
it as a joke.
That
I
was
made it as a
funny
joke,
though.
right? And
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. And I said, um, my first comment back was, I've never played a tournament in a parking lot. And honestly, because the course doesn't have to look fantastic to play fun or be fun to watch. Also, the Jones course has not been, it's not particularly different than past years, and it's always been on tour. So why are we caring more this year than in previous years? Right?
There's more
Why
eyes.
why is this the year that we're picking on them for the looks, right?
Because
And then I said I also said I would like to point out that I haven't actually seen any complaints about the aesthetics at this point. We're possibly on different Twitter feeds, which we are more than likely, but it was just one of those things where I was like, why is it such a big deal this year? And yes, I get there's a lot of new eyes on it, but the people who are commenting back at me are not the new viewers,
right.
right? And so if this has always been such a big deal about Jones, why haven't we made a big deal about it before?
Right. But I mean,
Is it because we used to be in that mindset that we were just so excited to watch disc golf in any consume disc golf in any way, shape, and form that we didn't give it a second thought?
and now we're getting a little bit more spoiled. Um
Yeah,
it
and
does
I
seem
understand
that
that.
way. It does
I
seem
think
that
it.
way.
I think
Um
aesthetics is an important factor,
right.
but when you talk about factors, it cannot be the whole story. And that was my point when
Yeah.
I kind of went after these people. I was like, look, I'm not going to not watch a tournament just because it's ugly. If it's a good tournament and it's fun to watch, I'm going to watch it.
Right.
And I think that a tournament that is on an ugly course can be fun to watch.
But what makes you this honest question. What makes you watch 3 golf tournaments a year?
The prestige of the tournament is really what it is.
Okay, so it's just the prestige.
Yeah, it's basically the Masters, anything at Pebble Beach, and it's not necessarily that every tournament at Pebble Beach is, prestigious, but the course has a level of prestige based on its difficulty that it is fun
Right.
to watch them battle.
So it's just
And
like
then
the W.R.
I'll
Jackson, how
watch.
it had prestige, and anybody likes watching W.R. Jackson because of how tough it is.
Right. And then the other ones that I like to watch are like the Riders Cup and stuff like that. And let me tell you what, the Riders Cup, if you guys have never watched the Riders Cup in actual golf, one of the ugliest courses out there. But it is so fun to watch because it's a difficult course
They
and it's
use
the best players in the
celebrities.
world and it's a different format than what we see throughout the year as well. It's really fun to watch because of that,
And why do
right?
you think that they bring that to that course?
I don't know. It's an ugly course. It is
It's right,
God, it's very similar when you think about Kansas. It's tall grass all over the place. There's not a
right,
tree in sight. And then you have your fairways, which are beautiful, and your greens, which are beautiful. But
right.
everything else, god awful.
Yeah.
But
And
still
and
one of my
that's
favorite things to watch every year.
that's because of the entertainment value.
Right. Now
So,
I feel one of the things that I think, and this is why I made that original tweet to begin with, is that we've been so spoiled throughout the years to consistently watch these people score 10 downs all the time. Every time they hit the course, they're shooting these great rounds. And you
right.
have a lot of people hitting these great rounds that the truth of the matter is that they weren't going off about the visuals of the course. They were going off about the fact that it was so hard to play that they needed something else to latch onto, and that was the visuals of the course. And
I
that was my point.
that's a very good point. I don't know how you could have really summed that up better. Uh, the only thing, and I'm not like directly coming at the course for this, it's just
Right.
like I'm more on the devil's advocate side of this as to where,
Great. I'm usually the devil's advocate guy, so I love that you're playing it this week.
right, and it's because it's kind of true. I mean, we have to, in order to grow the sport and to grow the brand and everything, it takes a little bit of everything. It takes the aesthetic vibe, it takes the competitiveness, it takes the players' emotions, it
Right.
takes the discs, it takes the elements. It's a little bit of everything. So, like for instance, what is it? Hole 11. That's the water hole. Uh, is hole
Uh,
11 the water hole?
at the country club,
Yes.
are you talking about the island hole?
Yes.
Hole 16.
Hole 16. Okay. Hole 16. Great hole. All right. It's hard. It's very hard. Not very many people even make the island. All right.
Yeah,
But it's fun to watch. So we don't have
absolutely.
to see the good score there, right?
Right.
It's almost like a story in its own. It's kind of like, how hole 8 at Maple Hill is. It's like, is he gonna make the island? Is he gonna make the island? Is he gonna make the island? And it's exciting.
Right.
That one thing is exciting. So I, something that they could actually do. Um, this is something that I thought of, and this is what I'm gonna bring up to you as an idea. Is for holes like that, kind of like your signature holes. Um, and it can be multiple holes throughout the course or whatever.
Right.
Um, what would you like to see about like a switch cam uh option to where you're only watching a specific hole? All right.
I've talked about it before actually because it's something we saw at USDGC last year, right? We had holes 7 and 17, and that was a separate feed. You could watch that all tournament long and just watch nothing but that, and then you could watch lead card action.
I did not
And
even know that. Oh, I
yeah, it
didn't
was
I didn't buy it though. I didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that
I
if
watched the
you
last round after. So,
yeah, so if you go back because that's free to watch now, you can actually go back and you'll notice that there is a feed that was holes 7 and 17 on a continuous loop all tournament long.
and that
The
shows
7
every player.
7 is the triple mando through the bamboo,
Right.
and 17 is the island hole,
Yes, that the
where
hay
they had
bales.
this yeah, and they had the special rule where if you miss it, you re-tee until you make it, and that's
Yep.
the rule.
Broken
And
distance.
those are your flagship holes on that course. I would love to see that more often. And the fact that we spent so much money to get all of these extra cameras out there and we're not doing that right now is absolutely absurd.
And this is the reason I'm saying this is like I'm kind of bringing it all back around to where I started. Um, if we have stationary cameras, if we can start doing that, have stationary cameras behind the islands, okay? We have a pop up. Okay, this is the card that's teeing off. Boom, got it. We know who's coming. All right,
Yeah.
we're on the camera. We get to watch the shot as though we were spectators from
Yeah.
this side. All right. Um, if the camera is stationary, the picture is better. That's known. Um, I think that newer players, newer watchers, newer viewers, people that are coming into that would really cling to something like that. Um,
Absolutely.
and it could be something huge for the Pro Tour.
Right.
And
Well,
eventually they could do more than just signature holes, but
but it's the same thing because it's just like how you asked me, well, why do you watch the Masters? Well, to be honest, that's something the Masters does. Is they have a continuous feed of two holes. They have they have the one of their flagship holes, and then they have the one hole that everybody wants to watch, right? And they have those on a continuous feed, and then you have ABC feed, and then you have an ESPN feed, and that's generally what they run.
Right.
And that's very. I don't understand why we're not doing that at this point, because we've shown that we can do it because we've already done it for a tournament. Why aren't we doing that for more
Right.
tournaments?
I
Because hole
didn't even know that
16,
we had done that yet.
yeah,
So
hole 16 is such a like like primary example of a hole that is perfectly designed for that, because how fun is it? And it's a story in and of itself, because they don't have to be the greatest players in the world. But guess, you know what we missed this weekend? We missed
Jeremy
aces.
Collings ace. Matt Bell's $25,000 ace. That could
And
have
then you
been
had
in much better
Chloe,
camera.
yeah, and you had Chloe Alice hit an ace
Yeah,
as well
Chloe
from the
Alice
FPO
as
side.
well.
All right. So we had aces we missed that we could have seen if we had that feed. And not only that, we would have had good footage for post production, or for anybody who wanted to go back and watch that at a later time,
Yeah,
instead of these really sketchy phone videos that somebody took.
exactly. And just think about that. These are going viral from a phone, right? That,
Imagine if it was professional footage.
exactly. That's exactly my point. Imagine if it was professional footage. Like it they're missing out on stuff like that. So,
Absolutely.
hopefully we get to that, but I think that would help grow the viewership a lot. I feel like it's just kind of more intriguing to watch some of these guys. They'll follow along on UDisc more than they'll actually watch the live disc golf. So could you imagine just following along on UDisc and watching one hole waiting for ace runs? That
Yeah.
sounds like a
Well,
great time. I could have
because
a
the other thing
party
is
for that.
too,
You know what I mean?
and
Like every
and we kind
ace
of
is a
live
drinking game or something.
and we live in a generation too where we can split screen stuff now. So I can put,
Right.
the lead card feed on one side, and then I have my that hole, the featured holes on another side, and that way I get to watch both of them the entire tournament long.
Yep.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
That would be great. Now,
You
the other
should.
comment I wanted to point out on this one, because it was really funny, and I'm not sure if he was trying to be a jerk or if it was a lighthearted joke, but I just thought it was so funny I can't not call it out. At J Hyde, he commented back. He said, "Aesthetics are a huge factor for everyone I know that watches disc golf. I don't give credence to failed podcasters."
Oh, rough.
I thought that was like, you know what? If he's being serious, good for him. He's retweeted us like 10 times in the last week, so I don't know if he just, if it was just a funny joke or whatever, but
Right.
I just thought it was so funny I couldn't not call it out. But here's what I have to say. If that's a serious comment to me, I'm sorry. We're new. Number 1. Number 2, we're in the stages where, we've just talked about I have 117 followers on our Twitter account.
And we're excited
Any
about it. You know what I mean?
any we're in the stages right now where any interaction is good interaction, even that type of negative interaction.
Yep.
So if it wasn't a joke,
Eh.
thanks for the interaction. More people
Right.
saw that tweet because of you.
Right.
And if it was a joke,
It was
it was
pretty good.
hilarious.
It was
I
pretty
thought it
good.
was funny.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
We're not very we don't take things too seriously around here.
No,
We really
no,
don't. Like we kind of cut through a lot between me and you. Like we cut
yeah,
through a lot. It was like, oh, he probably meant this. He probably meant this. He probably meant this.
yeah,
We got blinders on, man.
bro. This is just a good time for
It
us,
is.
man. We just enjoy making this content for you guys, and I'm gonna be controversial on Twitter. That's just how it is. I just think it was funny.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Speaking of
go ahead.
Twitter, and before we get any farther away, I would say, from this tournament, as we talked about last week, we were gonna do a what are you throwing tweet,
On hole 16.
and this week it just happened to be that, I mean, we had aces, we had heartbreaking misses, we had everything under the sun on hole 16. So I decided, you know what? Let's do hole 16. So I gave it to you guys. You guys know the drill. Hole 16 at Emporia Country Club, 320 feet to an island green that is effectively the total size of Circle 1.
I get to go first.
What are you guys throwing?
I want to
What are you
go.
throwing?
Pick me. Pick me. So I thought about this. I seen this tweet. I seen 1,000 replies to it. So I was like, all right, well, I need to be thinking of this. So I have to ask, is it in the wind that they are playing?
I mean, you have to assume it's Kansas.
Okay. So with that being said, I am going with a nuke, my Ezra Aderhold nuke on a Spike Heiser because 320 Spike Heiser, that's perfect distance for me. Like
Oh yeah.
that's perfect for me. Um, I thought about trying to forehand something straight. I was like, that's going in the water. If I backhand the Heiser flip, it's flipping over into a roller. So, and I was gonna get wet either way. So
Right.
I'm thinking, let's keep it up in the air and try to just drop a dime. So Spike
Right.
Heiser with a nuke. That was my disc.
Yeah. For me, again, it depends. So I have two scenarios because you never know what kind of wind you're going to get in Kansas. There was a really funny thing actually. They were talking about on the broadcast. They were like, I can't remember who they were asking. I think they were actually calling down to Brian and asked. They were like, "Hey, so is there a particular wind we can expect out here? Do the players know what kind of wind they're facing, or is it just any direction at any time?" And before Brian even said a word, my wife was in the room with me, and she played 4 years of college softball in Kansas, and she looked up, and before Brian had even said a word, she says, "It's windy all the time, any direction. You never know." That's it. That's all she said. And then she looked back down and went back to scrolling on her phone. And I
Yep.
was like, all right, that's
Yep.
that's all I need to know.
Ha!
So I had to come up with three scenarios, right? Because is it a crosswind? Is it a tailwind? Is it
If
a
you
headwind? All right.
if you if she would have said that and you said, "All right, back to you, Nate,"
Mhm.
I would have died. That would have been you missed an opportunity there. But
Back to you, Nate.
and back to you, Nate.
Uh, back to you guys in the booth. This is Daniel Bacon signing off. So I had to come up with three scenarios, okay? If we're talking a tailwind, I can get a mid range there, no problem. I don't have to worry about something flipping over too hard on me. I'm probably going to go with a buzz. It's going to be real close. For me, my buzz is pushing 320 feet
Right.
is my max landing zone. So I'm probably scuffing the front of that and hoping to skip up underneath it if I hit my line, right?
If the tailwind
If I
doesn't drop you.
if the tailwind doesn't drop me. Now I don't worry quite as much about that because if you got the tailwind, I'm probably going to get it up in the air a little bit extra. Same thing, if you throw a putter, you got to get it up in
Right.
the air and let the glide do the rest of the work for you and hope you don't just get a slam drop, right?
Right.
Now, if it's a headwind, I'm probably going to throw that Macy Veladiaz Felon I have. I'm probably going to throw it on a bit of hyzer, let it flip up. I'm going to throw it to the rightmost edge of the island, probably even right directly at that lane of water between the island and I'm going to let it flip up to flat. I'm going to let it fade back onto me. The only thing that's scary there is if it hits that island and flare skips, it might go off left side. That is a real distinct possibility with that Felon, but I'm going for it. You never
Right.
know. Might even hit the chains and just drop it in. Uh, if I've got a crosswind, I'm probably just throwing something really overstable. Um, I might even just try to get a ballista way up into the sky on a Spy Kaiser. Just let the crosswind kind of do the work for me.
Right.
Hopefully, drop it in on the island. If I miss, running it on.
And see, that's kind of where I was at with the nuke. I was like, I'm just gonna send it up there, and hope for the best. You know,
Yeah,
it's like, and everybody knows a Spike Heiser is the easiest to judge.
yeah,
Um, it's kind of like your go-to shot when you begin everything. It's like because I know where this is gonna land. So why stray from something that has so many
yeah.
variables? So
Exactly.
now I
All
do
right.
like your approach though of the buzz because the buzz shot is very good if it's a tailwind. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to point that out. You're
Yep.
good.
Thank you. All right. Now to my favorite answers of the week so far. Uh, Matt Winter at that guy Matty Ice.
Matty Ice.
Best best answer. It did not get the most likes, but it was easily my favorite answer of the entire group of answers. So that guy Matty Ice, he says, "I'm starting a K1 Softberg on Heiser on the left side. After it flips up to Heiser, I just watch it glide for days and days. It tends to have a big flare skip, so hopefully I can avoid that, and it's parked."
Absolutely. Hats off.
Hats off to you, sir. Easily my favorite comment
It
back.
literally went against the laws of physics of a berg, and I loved every
Everything,
second of
everything.
it.
all I all I sent back was a GIF of The Office and Dwight, and it just him saying, "Okay, well played." That was it. That's all I replied with. Um, and somebody else commented back. He said the Berg is famous for his glide,
Right.
and has a GIF of just somebody laughing.
I seen where somebody puts like, my bird goes 200 feet at most.
That that was him
That
replying
was him
back
replying back.
to us. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm glad you caught that because my bird goes 200 at most.
Yeah.
So that was just super funny. At Disc Golf Hunter said, I'm throwing myself into the lake.
It's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and swim to the drop zone.
Kevin Myers at Rattling Chains, he said, Discraft Heat left hand forehand while simultaneously throwing a Thunderbird right hand forehand, double ace.
Hey, bro,
I
he's got me thinking.
I would pay to watch it. Um,
Could you
Obi
imagine going out
Bogey,
there sling blading like?
yeah, but he's double forehanding, yeah,
That's
so
what I'm
he's
saying.
going.
I'm like, shoo,
Yeah,
shoo.
that'd
Could
be
you
fun to watch.
imagine?
Could you imagine if they both went into?
Dude, I would be the
I
Ninja
mean,
Turtle of
I'd
this
pay money for
generation.
that.
I
That would make
me too.
Simon Lizotte look like child's play.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
take my money.
Yeah, but get that on YouTube. I promise you'll have 100K followers in a week. I swear. Obi Bogey at Bogey Obi. He says, "My friend's disc," and I'm pretty sure we're all thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing my own disc into that water. Are you serious right now? uh, at Rare Discs Disc Golf Store says, "Can I fly a drone there?" I'm pretty accurate with those, although mind you, the wind might be pretty crazy.
Right.
If you listen, if you're flying a drone in the wind they had on the second and third day over there, kudos to you because if you can land it there, that's honestly impressive.
Hey, yeah, I would have hated to be. Golly. Mm-mm-mm.
uh, at or Justin Morris at Justin M and a bunch of numbers said probably my favorite destroyer right into the water.
Shout out, Justin.
That's that. uh, he says I'm throwing it right to the drop zone. Then I'm trying to hit the putt. After I miss and it goes OB, I'm just trying to keep it under 15.
There you go. That's my kind of game plan. Keep it
Yeah,
under
right.
15.
Hey. What else do we got here? I think we've got one more really good one that I'm missing. It has to be.
I feel like these things are so interactive on Twitter, and I love it.
These are great. I have a great time with this. Let's see. At L Druid is Drew. Let's Druid Hanshaw. He says my sword on a flex line at it, and with my luck, it's sailing long, and I'm going swimming. Yep, that's pretty true.
Yep.
Um, at Tyler Hazlitt says whatever I throw, it ain't gonna make it.
Whatever it gonna be in the water.
I just replied, "You can do it. We believe in you."
Yeah. Common courtesy.
At Chris underscore B underscore DG says, "I'll be throwing approximately $20 into the water."
Yeah, that was a good one. That's a pretty good one.
And those are the best ones.
Yeah.
If I skipped over you, I'm sorry, but next week there'll be a new one. We'll probably snap a pick out at our tournament this weekend since we don't have anything to cover,
Yeah.
and we'll see what you guys are throwing at that.
Absolutely.
I don't know which one it'll be, but
I need to start
I'll take
doing
a
some
couple
of those
pictures,
on when you're running them on Twitter. I need to run them on Instagram too.
see what we can come up with.
See what we can come up with. Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
So before we move on to the game segment, okay, I do want to point out one thing. This has been a great little ride. We've had some downs, had some ups, we've had some downs. We're back up on the high note, and I'm about to go back to the low note. I am Mr. Positive. I love positivity. However, Paul Macbeth had too much of the positive. He unfortunately did not make cut line. He was 26 strokes behind Rick. Um, this Paul McBeth missed the cut line for the first time in his career this past weekend. And I don't think that it needed to go unnoticed. Um, I don't want to like blare it out, but it just goes to show that you know
Well,
even the
eh,
greatest of all time is
we don't we don't want to
human.
we don't want to blare this out, but at the same time, I want you guys to listen to what I'm about to repeat and breathe all of it in as I say this. Paul Macbeth, arguably the greatest of all time, missed a cut for the first time ever.
Ever.
Just breathe that in for a second. Just take it
Right.
in, accept it, understand it. Now, listen, this goes back to our wild predictions that just continued to come true
Yeah.
from last week. Because when we were giving our predictions, both of us avoided Paul Macbeth in our top threes.
Yep.
And we actually took a second to talk about this. And one of the things we had mentioned was Emporia. Both courses are extremely long. We saw a ridiculous amount of DNFs.
Yes.
Okay. Now, some of that was just for bad play, some of it was for injury. We
And
saw
some of it
Matty
was
O
COVID
DNF.
related.
Yes, we saw Matty O DNF, Philo DNF'd, Noah Mainsma, excuse me, DNF'd. And then we also had Gavin Rathbun DNF'd. There was one more, two more, I believe, that hit a DNF as well. Paul Ulibarri took a DNF, and those are most of your big names that took a DNF. Gavin, first really big tournament where he was trying to press and play well before, you know, taking a little bit of a break.
Right.
I haven't heard too much of a word on how bad it is or whether it was preventative.
Right.
But I cannot I can't tell you how long that course is and how it plays, right? Gavin Rathbun is one of the longest throwers in the game right now. And yes, he's coming off injury, but you are throwing full power poles 40 times a single day.
Yep.
And you have to try to fight through headwinds with your most overstable discs and still gain distance every single day. And one of the things that I had said was, I don't know if Paul Macbeth can throw for 4 straight days with that and still be competitive. He played well the first day, he played poorly the second day, and he really let it fall off the third day. And as you had said, was, you had kind of made the comment, if he plays at all.
Right.
And you had said that right after I said, I don't know how he's going to play in the fourth round. And lo and behold, he didn't play the fourth round
Yep.
because he couldn't. And I don't know how much that injury was truly affecting him out there, but usually when you see a steady decline like that on courses like that, it means your injury is affecting you.
It's wear and tear, correct. But at that point, after I know it probably looks bad if he DNFs in the third round, right? He's
Right.
kind of like, I'm
At,
gonna
at
miss
that point,
cut
it
line.
almost
It's like,
at
what do
that
you
point
do?
it's like, oh, he's just DNFing so he doesn't officially miss the cut.
And that would have been the That would have been the notive. You know what I mean? Like that's what we would be talking about right now, and that's not good, but that is a talking point. And I kind of commend him for doing it. I think
And
that him staying in and showing that it's okay. People make mistakes. Like
and,
it.
and the other thing that I liked about it is he stayed in, he took his DNF, and he didn't go on Instagram and say anything about it.
Yes,
Because
and
that was something that we had heard across all of the disc golf world last week was
he
Paul
took a
Macbeth
lot of
has
flack
an
for that.
excuse.
He took a lot of
And
flack for that.
well played, Paul, for not going out there and blaming on anything or having anything other than, if even if he had posted and just said, I tried my best, it wasn't enough, that would have been fine. But he
Right.
didn't say anything at all, and that was just as fine.
Yes.
I, you know,
So, um, now that we're on the low note, back to the high note. Anthony Barella gets his car. Anthony Barella finished higher than Paul Macbeth on an Elite Series event. It happened, folks. It happened. Therefore, Hannah Macbeth is in the market for a new vehicle.
Yeah, that BMW ain't hers no
It
more.
ain't hers no more. And I know AB was not thinking about that at all or nothing, but I guarantee you he said something. He probably said something a little bit about it. But
I might at Paul Macbeth this week on Twitter, see if we can get a cheeky reply from him or something saying, "Hey, has Barella picked up his keys yet?"
right, Barella picked up the Beamer yet? Like, I'm just saying, like that was a legitimate bet. Like that was a thing. It wasn't just talked about. Like that was a thing, and AB done it. So I'm curious to see how that folds out. But
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm
yeah,
waiting for an Instagram post or something about it. It's
right.
got to be
Yeah, yeah. AB driving off from Paul's house. That would be so
there.
funny. Um,
The funny thing is that it doesn't really affect Paul at all.
no, not at all. And
It's
Hannah gets a
Hannah's
new
car.
car. It gets Hannah a new car, and she's probably like, "Why would you bet my car?" But she doesn't care.
But then she probably was like, "Why would you bet my car?" And then she's like, "But I get a new car."
Go AB.
She's quietly rooting for him from the
Right.
shadows so she
Yeah.
could get a new car.
Right. That's all it is. All right. So let's go ahead and transfer over into some games.
Let's do it. Let's do it
Yep.
to it.
All right. So let's go ahead and do Who Am I? Since we're coming straight out of the tournament and tournament stats. I
Let's do
will
the
be
damn
representing the FPO this week, as he will be representing the MPO this week. And I am going to go ahead and let you tell me who you are.
Who I am
Mm-hmm.
first? Okay.
Since we did MPO first
Okay.
last week, I figure we'll just keep it MPO first.
That's fair. That is fair. All right. I play for Discraft. I hit 68% of the fairways this week. I hit 80% of my Circle 1 putts. And I had a 25% birdie percentage. Who am I?
So it comes down to two players for me. I know there's three in there. You have Chris Dickerson, Brody Smith, and Aaron Gossage. Um, the fairway hits is a little low. The circle one percentage was 80%, correct?
80%.
80%. Um, I feel like I feel like that's probably lower strictly because of how hard the course was. Um, so
Yeah.
80% could
And then
be,
wind.
yeah, 80, yeah, with wind, but I'm thinking 80% is still probably in the topper echelon. Whereas Chris was in eighth. I think it was still only a stroke difference. Um,
Yeah, and I mean they're all of those stats are between 20th and 30th.
yeah.
So
Mm,
I wouldn't say any of them are super high or super low. They're all kind of just right there.
I would assume that all of their stats are very similar, too.
Very much so.
So it's not. Is there another like outlier that gives me anything?
Uh my parked percentage was 3%.
Hmm, that doesn't
That
help me either.
was that ranked 72nd.
Yeah, that's gonna be somebody with. I'm gonna go with Chris Dickerson. Nope,
Nope, not this time around.
Aaron Gossage.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was Aaron Gossage.
Um, the only reason that I really didn't feel like it was Brody was because of the fairway hits. But
Actually, I mean, not that it makes that much of a difference. Brody's fairway hits was 69% versus the 68%. The
really,
one that
I
actually would have
actually
got you, that was kind of the hint that it wasn't Brody, if there was anything in particular, was the birdie percentage.
Yeah.
because Brody birdied 33%, which actually ranked fourth, and then the parked percentage, he parked 6%, which was up in the 30s,
Right.
low 30s.
He had just took a couple more bogeys.
Yes, many much more bogeys,
Yeah, that was a tough one.
and
It was a tough one.
a couple more OBs as well.
Right. Okay. Well, I didn't get any points for that one. I'm gonna go ahead and swap over to the FPO. Um, I play for Innova.
Ooh,
I placed in the top 10.
ooh.
I had a 78% fairway hit. I had a 28% birdie rate. And I had 71% Circle 1X putting.
Uh, I could completely end up blowing this one. Um, but I kind of have to go with my gut here. You said top 10, right?
Yep, top 10.
That that includes 10th,
Yes.
only because yeah, I don't know. I have to say, I mean, I'm pretty sure Haley birdied more than that. Um, is Emily Beach Innova?
Correct.
Okay. You said 28% birdie.
Yes. Pretty good. that's that's probably the best stat that you're gonna cling to be honest.
Yeah, I'm kind of well. I'm in between Jennifer Allen and
That
Emily
and the
Beach.
fairway hits.
It's just that last day was such a weird day in terms of I don't know. Uh, I'm gonna go with Emily Beach,
No.
Jennifer Allen,
No.
Haley King.
It was Haley King.
Haley King was only at a
Um
28% birdie.
yeah.
I thought she was
Which ranked her second.
yes, but I didn't see. I didn't realize that was second.
Yeah.
I thought
Um
that that would have ranked her down in the 10 to 20s, which is why I avoided her.
right.
Was because I knew she was birdieing a lot, but she was bogeying a ton as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I avoided her was because I thought her percentage was higher.
Yep. Her 78% fairway hits was first. Um I did want to point out though, I seen on Jennifer Allen's that um her birdie rate was 10th at 21%. Uh she was second in parked though, which is not something um we see a whole lot, but we do know that she does have the world distance record right now for FPO.
Yeah, she's got the power for that for
Oh
sure,
yeah.
especially in a course
And
that long.
Emily Beach um had 19% birdie rate, which ranked her 11th. But yeah, so Kristen was obviously number one in birdie rate, uh, but not by much. So
Hmm,
yeah, it was.
interesting.
I thought that was interesting. So there we go. Neither one of us got a point. It's crazy how
No,
like if we both get point, like if you get one, I get one, but if I don't get one, you don't
I
get one. Like,
yeah, I fixated on the wrong stat there
mm-hmm.
because I thought I knew that stat better than I did apparently.
And that
'Cause
was my problem too.
I really thought that Haley was up in the 30%, the low 30s. I thought she was around 30 to 35,
Yeah,
between 30 and 35. Um, so I thought that birdie percentage was actually going to be Emily, and then the fairway hits kind of separated Emily in my mind from Jennifer as well
right.
because she played very consistent in terms of not bogeying, taking her pars when they came, kind of.
And that just kind of goes to show how much harder it is when there's good scoring separation on a course, too. Because
Yeah.
you can have great stats and still not score well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, all right.
It is what it is.
You got a disc for me?
I have a disc for you. Do you have a disc for me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I gave you my disc first, or my player first. So why
All
don't you
right.
go first? See
I
if
will
you can't get it.
start. Oh, you want me to guess first?
No, I want you to.
Okay, I got you.
I want to guess first this
All
time.
right, you got it. You tell me when. Stopwatch is ready.
All right, I'm ready.
And go.
Innova,
No,
Discraft,
no,
Discmania,
no,
Castoplast,
no.
Trilogy,
Yes,
Latitude,
yes,
Driver,
yes,
um, to do the Distance,
yes.
the Grace,
No,
Understable,
no,
Overstable,
yes,
the Rive.
no.
Da, 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 da. I don't know a lot of their overstable lineup.
20 seconds. You get time.
Da, 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 da. I can't think of it. 13 speed,
No,
12 speed,
no.
14 speed,
Yes,
Ballista Pro.
yes. You got it with 2 1 seconds. You
Nailed
got it
it.
with
That's
two.
the second week in a row that I've
Yep.
done that. Right on the timer.
Oh, and last week I had a lot of kickback because on the audio version,
Uh-huh.
timer totally went off first. There was like he didn't get
Oh,
it.
boo, boo, hoo.
There was like he didn't get it.
So, so here's the one thing you guys have to remember is that we are not in the same room while we're recording
Right,
this. So the timer did go off first, probably, but on my side, because there is technically a slight delay,
right.
my answer did actually hit before the timer.
Yeah, I do agree with that because I
So
heard you say it as the timer was going off, and I'm taking it more as a buzzer beater. You go through it, okay? It's fine.
yeah, the
As
answer
long as
was in the air.
it's exactly. It's not like it was done and then over. Yeah, no, you got it. You got it. All right.
All right,
You did well. You got a full point there.
I'm gonna give you one hint before we start with yours.
Okay.
This is probably going to be the hardest one that we do all year.
Okay.
However, if you did pay attention to Twitter at all,
I did not.
it could also be very easy because I know that your Twitter notifications are blowing up.
Yes.
So if you looked at one, you could get this very easily. That's your only hint.
What the?
All right, let me get your timer ready. Let me know when you're ready.
I am ready.
And 3, 2, 1, go.
Trilogy.
No,
Castoplast.
no,
Dynamic. Wait,
no,
that's the Discmania.
no,
Innova.
yes,
Innova. Oh, okay. Distance driver.
no,
Mid range.
yes,
Okay. Stable. Or overstable.
no,
Understable.
no,
So it's just straight. Mako.
no,
Mako 3.
no,
5 speed.
yes,
Um 5 speed, stable,
20 seconds.
Innova. Um Not an overmold.
No,
Um New disc,
no,
old disc.
yes,
Rock.
no. That's your timer. You have one more question and then a guess.
Okay. Is it in beginner sets?
I've never seen it in a beginner set. No, but I can't speak to older
That
beginner
throws
sets.
that one out of the water then.
I will give you one more hint. It's probably more popular in its star plastic than anything else. Star and DX.
Where I was or a version of rock at least.
I'll give you one more hint actually. Its date of approval was July 8th, 2006.
It's
It's
old.
PDGA approval. Old. I didn't know they still made these actually until somebody commented it.
A spider?
What was that?
A spider?
No. You were close though with that one. I'm not
Um
going to give you a point, but
yeah.
I'll give you one more guess since Spider was really close.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. I already said wombat, so
Skeeter.
oh, Skeeter. I don't even know that disc exists. Um,
Yeah.
I
That
what
I didn't know they still made those
I got
anymore.
hung up
And
on wanting to say shark so badly, but
yeah, the shark would be overstable,
yeah,
technically, I think, because it's like a 5403
yeah,
or
but
something
it's
like that. So this
definitely
is
just not.
so after actually seeing this, I almost feel like I kind of want to try one out just for fun, but it's a 5-5 -1-1.
Right. It's your claymore. So, and
A little bit. It's a little more, but it's got a more domey shape to it. So it's almost like it's got a driver top with a mid-range rim.
hmm,
It's yeah,
interesting.
it's a little domey compared to most
That's
mid-ranges, I would say.
exactly how the new disc I just got is. Um, I got one of the Yikun Dragon line.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
looking at some Yikun at my local store this week, and I was thinking about
So
grabbing
the
one, but
plastic just feels the
I was there for a
plastic
particular
feels
disc.
unreal, right? The plastic feels great. It's
Right.
kind of what drew me to Castaplast, and I'm like, Yikun's got
Yes.
some plastic going on. Like their Dragon line is fire. Um,
Okay.
it's called like a Zuhu or whatever, and I had to look it up, and
I don't blame you for
because
that.
the stamp on it is a one-legged dragon standing over a mountain with wings and horns, but it's got like a goat leg.
Oh,
So,
all right.
so
I'm gonna
yeah,
have to look that up too.
but yeah, so I was like, this is a wicked stamp. I look
I'm
it
trying
up,
to expand my
and it's
horizons.
literally it means the like wildebeest dragon stepping over a mountain. And I'm like, all
Okay.
right, that's straight and to the point. Thanks for that. It's
I could dig it.
a demon dragon, wildebeest demon dragon. That's what it was.
Yeah, Chinese lore just has. I mean,
It opens up a
if
lot of cool
Chinese
stamps.
are well, yeah, and if the Chinese or the Japanese really started getting into discs, they
Yeah.
would be amazing just based on the stamps they could create
Oh yeah.
because there's so much mythology wrapped around those two cultures.
True.
I mean, the possibilities are endless on the discs you could name.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And I've been throwing it right, and it's a 5503 or 02, right?
Okay.
And I think it's 5502, and it is much faster than a 5 speed, because it's got that driver top. Um,
Ooh.
it flies farther than my Trident and my Cax, which are both 6 speeds.
Yeah, that domey top. There's just a lot of
Um,
extra under. It probably has
it
a lot more. It's probably more the glide than it is the speed because of that top.
I don't know. It's hard. It feels faster. I don't know. You can just tell. You know what I mean? Because like
Right.
if I overpower the Cax, it kind of like flutters because it can't hold up to the speed, right? I
Yeah,
can
but that
I can give
torque resistance is kind of different than speed.
well, I do agree with that. Um, but it's a very odd disc. Um, it's it's very weird. I don't know how to explain it. So if I throw it straight and it's flat,
Right.
it's dumpy. Okay, it's dumpy.
Interesting.
If I throw it on hyzer, it stands up flat, then dumpy. It's
That's
weird.
weird.
It is very weird. It wants to stay flat for about 120 feet, and then it wants to start finishing. It's like if I put it on hyzer, it gets to flat about 120 feet, goes about 100 feet, then dumps. So it's one of those weird, almost flies like a putter, but it's super super fast. Like wants to hold the line, but gets up a little bit. I
Yeah, I
it's
wonder how that'll
very
fly when it gets beat in. That'll be an interesting one.
it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird.
It sounds like something that'll get better with some beat in
And
though.
it could potentially. I mean, I got it in the bag. I kind of just throw it for extra shots or whatever right now, just trying
Yeah.
to see kind of what it'll do. Um, It is, however, a very good um, kind of woods carver because it likes to dump so much, but it still has a lot of glide. It's a very glidey
Right.
dump. You remember how you would explain your Lunas, how they would carry on a hyzer?
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So they really try to, like, when I throw them on extreme hyzer, they pop up to almost flat, and then
and
they
they
push
just,
forward on that hyzer,
right,
and then
and
just
that is this disc in mid range
interesting.
form. And I'm like, this is useful, but I don't know how to incorporate it yet. And it's just not a part of my game yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's useful.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah,
Well, I
there's a
definitely
shout out
gave
to
you
Yikun.
the hardest one that we've ever had,
Yep.
bar none. But I gave it to you because I had somebody, when I did the "What are you throwing?" That was their answer. They were like, "I'm throwing my Innova Skeeter," and I'm like, "That still exists?"
Yeah.
Like, I've seen them before, but I couldn't like I I couldn't tell you when the last time I saw one was, and I don't think I've ever seen one in a store before.
I have pretty good disc knowledge, and I don't remember that disc. But
Yeah.
that is
And
kind of wild.
the DX is literally just a little mosquito and Skeeter, and that's all it is.
Hmm.
It's kind of cute, actually.
Kind of cute.
It's the first time I've ever seen a cute drawing of a Skeeter because those things are
Right.
nasty and I hate them.
Hate them. We hate them. But I mean, that's all I got.
That's it. Yeah, we'd planned for about an hour and a half, and
We
we're
hit it.
sitting right on about an
An
hour,
hour
five
and
minutes over that.
yeah, well, the recording's an hour and 31. So
Yeah.
we're at it. But yeah, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap everything up. Thanks to everybody for listening and watching. Thanks to all of our audio listeners. We have hit another country this past week. We hit another region in Finland as well.
All
Um,
right.
so yeah, we are growing steadily. Um, and yeah, I mean, we're in it for you guys. So
Yeah, a huge thank you for like the Twitter interaction the last 2 weeks.
absolutely,
Because outside of the followers, I'm not just there for the followers, I'm there for the interaction. And the interaction the last 2 weeks have just been phenomenal. It's been a
yeah,
great time. I've had so much fun having these conversations with you guys, and you guys have spread a couple of our tweets ridiculously far.
yes.
I mean, there are a few of our tweets that were pushing 10,000 impressions, which means that they have scrolled past somebody's screen, even if they didn't stop to look at it at least 10,000 times. That's ridiculous.
That is very good. Um, and yeah, continue interacting with us. We really do appreciate it. Um, everything that you possibly do helps grow this podcast and helps get more eyes onto us, which in turn will help get more players into the sport. So, um, after it's all said and done, hopefully we can all hit our goals, you know, but we can't do it without you.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. We kind of went into this when we started, just like, let's see where we can get and then go from there.
yeah,
And we've grown this to the point where it's almost time for you and I to really sit down and maybe think about what are the goals that we want to set for the end of the year.
yeah,
What are the like totals? What are the listens totals? What kind of stuff? Is we're starting to reach a point where it's not just see where this goes anymore. It's starting to get to the point where we need to have some goals, and
and
that would be
and
interesting.
and ways of getting there, and we will have those. And yeah, while we're talking about that, y'all get out there, go throw some discs, go get some aces, and if you don't get no aces, at least make them look close. We will see you guys later, and y'all have a great night, great rest of your week, and have fun. Later, y'all.
Later.